What a wonderful morning. Spencer, we are so proud of you. This week's portion, Vayetze, has special significance to me, not just to you, Spencer. In rabbinical school in New York at JTS, every student in their senior year is given a portion and delivers their senior sermon in front of all the faculty and students, a highlight and capstone moment after 5 years of study, and one that requires nearly a year of preparation and a share of anxiety. Parshat Vayetze was my senior sermon parsha, so Spencer, we have a special link. I'd like to share what I learned from Parshat Vayetze, a year of study, and really, the parsha repeats a word over and over again. The word is makom, which means place. Our portion begins with Jacob on a journey. Vayetze Yaakov me Beersheva. Jacob leaves his home in Beersheva, Vayelech Harona, and he sets off on his way for Haran, the place where his ancestors are. He rests for a night in Bamakom, in an unnamed place. We do not know the place. The rabbis themselves identify the place as a very holy site, the site where Abraham bound Isaac for sacrifice, the site which would become our Beit HaMikdash, the Temple Mount, the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. But here in our Torah reading, it is just called a makom, the place, an unnamed place. And there at this most holy place, we meet Jacob, who is young, Jacob the trickster boy. He is restless. He has much on his mind. It keeps him up at night, sometimes like perhaps you and me. There are things that keep us up, unable to sleep, trying to figure out the world's problems. What will happen next to him? And that's what Jacob is thinking. Who will he meet in Haran? Who will he become? Our portion puts emphasis on place, but the truth is our parsha is not about places. Our parsha is about people, about the who, about who we are and about who we will become, about who will help us on our journeys, about finding one's place, not the place, but finding our place and making our world a better place. In the words of Cleveland's community leader, business leader, philanthropist, and innovator Mort Mandel, perhaps you read his book, It's All About Who. It's all about who, and that's what our parsha is about. The late Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory asked this question on our parsha: why is Jacob our patriarch? Jacob is not Noah, righteous, perfect in his generations, one who walked with God. He's not Abraham, who leaves his land in response to divine call. He's not Isaac, who offers himself up for sacrifice. Nor does he have a burning sense of justice or willingness to intervene like Moses. Yet we are defined for all time as the descendants of Jacob. We are called Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, the children of Jacob. So Rabbi Sachs and all of us ask, it's all about who. Who was this Jacob? Why are we his descendants? What's so special about him? Rabbi Sachs continues, the answer, it seems to me, is intimated in the beginning of our parsha. Far from home and alone, he was at a point of vulnerability. The sun had set, night had fallen. Jacob lay down to sleep and then saw the majestic vision. He dreamt. He was the first person in our entire Torah to have a dream. Abraham did what God told him. He even questioned God. Isaac, you could argue, was passive, but Jacob dreamed, vayachalom. Abraham gave Jews the courage to challenge the idols of his age. Isaac gave us the capacity for self-sacrifice. Moses taught us to be passionate fighters for justice. But Jacob had the courage to hope and the strength to dream. That is who Jacob is and was. Perhaps better said, Jacob becomes the father of Israel, builds a family and a people because of who he became, because what he learned on his journey, and that he could take his dream and make it a reality to change the world. It's all about who. Last month, I had the opportunity to travel to Israel, joining Erica on a special trip with the Jack, Joseph, and Morton Mandel Foundation Board and Parkwood's visit to Israel. And I'll take a moment to say I'm grateful to my colleague, Rabbi Unger, for leading this congregation while I'm gone. And Rabbi Unger has a special connection to Spencer. Rabbi Unger was the rabbi in Columbus and officiated at Spencer's bris. So it's very special to have Rabbi Unger here today. On my trip to Israel last month, I had an in-depth look into the transformative work of the Mandel Foundation in Israel, whose mission is to invest in people with the values, ability, and passion to change the world. And I'm grateful to Steve Hoffman, our member and chairman of the board of Mandel Foundation, who led our trip, where we met 220 Israeli graduates from 5 different leadership programs spanning the depths of today's Israel society. By the way, we traveled there just a week after the elections in Israel. And you might know that there's some controversy and questions of where Israel is going based on last month's elections. There we met with ultra-Orthodox Haredi Druze, Jewish secular Israelis, IDF fighter pilots, Talmud teachers, district judges, computer programmers, counselors, Arab Muslims, Arab Christians, Jews, those that live in the north, those that live in the south, those that live in the center, and everything in between. We met with change leaders, innovators, and trailblazers from every part of society who are breaking down walls and building bridges of understanding and cooperation, and each of them had a dream. Each of them had a vision. And the leadership training program at Mandel Foundation Israel has given them the tools, the language, the network, the support to take an idea, to take their dreams, and to make it a reality, to change Israel for the better. These amazing individuals have taken up to 3 years of training, leadership training, to go back into the Israeli world with their new tools to become agents of change, to advance a more inclusive, just, tolerant, and democratic Israel. Each fellow and recent graduate that we met in 1 week, by the way, we met all 220, I believe, inspired us, lifted us up, gave us a window into who they are and the critical work in Israeli society that each of them are doing. I like to share just a snippet of a few. We only have a few minutes, so I can't give you 220 snippets. Rabbanit Shira Mervili Mervis. She is the first female Orthodox rabbi serving a community in Israel. Roni Kuban, he's the hottest talk show host and podcast host in Israel, who's using his platform to build bridges and share new perspectives. An elementary school principal who took over a failing and flailing school where kids barely came, families had no interest or investment in their children's education in the poorest neighborhood in Jerusalem. He created an outdoor experiential forest school where now children and families can't wait for the next day to open the door to learning. We met Rabbi Yoav Endi, a conservative rabbi in northern Israel near Haifa, who oversees Kibbutz Hanaton, who's working to build a neighborhood leadership programming connecting Arab villages and his Jewish conservative kibbutz, working to build a neighborhood leadership program of mutual understanding. We met a female Air Force pilot who, as a young girl, told her father, who was a pilot himself, "I am going to fly for the Air Force." Now, that was a time when women were not allowed to serve as pilots in the Air Force. She is breaking down walls, not the first Air Force pilot, but among them. She is now a young mother, a helicopter pilot. She shared her own challenges, how the Mandel Leadership Institute has given her the ability to help others soar higher. By the way, as we were meeting with her, there was a terrorist attack happening not far away. The sirens rang in the Air Force Base where we are, and another helicopter team lifted off to do a rescue mission to take the victims of the Ariel terror attack, you may remember, to life flight them to the hospital. Perhaps the most inspiring Mandel graduate we met on our trip was Maisa Halibi al-Sheikh. Maisa is a member of the Druze community, not Jewish. She lives in Daliat al-Carmel. By the way, another town you may have heard of, that's where the young boy, Tiran, who was in the tragic car accident where his body was taken by Palestinian terrorists last week. There in that community in Daliat al-Carmel, in northern Israel next to Haifa, you might know that Druze are Arabs. They are not Muslim. They are not Christian. They are their own sect and their own religion. They are very practical people. They serve in the IDF and are members of Israeli society. In the Druze community, women do not typically have the same mobility or career path as today's modern women. They typically are not allowed to work outside their home. But Maisa had a dream. By the way, she's 20 years old, that she could do more. She wanted to be a computer programmer. She also wanted to help other women in her Druze community, but she didn't have the tools, the resources, or the network to make any of these dreams a reality. With the consent of her community's elders and the town sheikh, she participated in the Mandel Leadership Institute. She not only became a programmer, but she created a high-tech incubator at the age of 20, a program for the women in her community where they're taught digital technology and are actively working on digital projects for global companies. Maisa has built a community resource, a center called Lotus, where women can work in a safe, collaborative, and supportive space, which we have the opportunity to visit, which is changing that Druze society every single day. All this while staying within limits set by her Druze culture. Each of the Mandel Israel Fellows that we met are following the footsteps of our Bible, our Torah's Jacob, climbing that ladder step by step, as Spencer told us. They had a dream, a wider vision, and it's all about who they are, and who they are lifting up. So who are the angels on the ladder that Jacob saw? Our Chumash, if you looked in it, as we read this morning, our Chumash shares that the angels that Jacob saw played no role in his dream. They were just there. But Spencer and I disagree. As Spencer said, we each have guardian angels, people that look out for us, that guide us, that show us the steps that we need to take to climb that ladder, to help us make us who we are, for it's all about who. Those who lift us up, ensure that we are climbing up that ladder, that we are on the right path. And that's what the Mandel Foundation is doing Israel, and I was able to see face to face. It's all about who. Each one of us here can be those angels who lift up those around us. We can be here for good. And I'll tell you one way we can be here for good. We can fund necessary and transformative work here in Cleveland, in Israel, and across the globe, and that's by participating in Jewish Federation of Cleveland's Campaign for Jewish Needs. You might know the campaign is entering its final week. It's all about who supports the campaign, but it's really all about who the campaign supports. At B'nai Yeshurun here, I see the daily impact of Federation and their community's campaign in providing necessary security additions and funding our resources for young families, for children, for teens, young professionals, and Jewish education, Shabbatons and retreats. So I encourage you, if you have not yet done it, please make a contribution. I'll end with the words of Nir. Nir is an IDF platoon commander in charge of 600 IDF soldiers. Nir works on the front lines in Israel. Shared with us that he's focused 100% on defending and protecting Israel, but he's also focused in teaching his soldiers how to live a life filled with values, ethics, and connection. He shared with us that leadership is an action. Every day he wakes up and asks himself, who am I and what am I doing here? What keeps him up at night is making sure that he lives a life filled with values, that he finds his place, makom, and can inspire those around him to find their place too. So as we read our Torah portion, which is about place, it's really about who we are meant to be, and will we take that chance, that opportunity, that risk to take our step-by-step climb on the ladder to become who we are meant to be, for it's all about who. Shabbat Shalom.